Hi and welcome to morning stretching. In between the exercises I'm going to read something about dense irregular connective tissue and try to learn it. And participating in the exercises is at your own risk. So let's start with the first exercise. We're having the legs standing wide apart. We are breathing in. And we're breathing out again. And breathe in. And out. And again in. And out. In and out, and one more round, so breathe in and out, and again in and out, and now we're closing the legs, and we've done the opening exercise. Now we always breathe in through the nose, deep into the chest, and out through the mouth. So breathe deep in through the nose, into the chest, and out through the mouth. Now to dense irregular connective tissue. Different types of tissue exist. So there are different types of tissue in the human body. They are not all the same. Dense irregular connective tissue is one type of tissue. So our dense irregular connective tissue is a type of tissue. There are different types, and our one is a type. Other types of tissue are, for example, dense regular connective tissue and loose connective tissue. So others are, for example, loose connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, and our one is dense irregular connective tissue. Next exercise, we're having the legs standing a bit more and shorter wide apart. We're breathing in and bringing our arms up. And we're breathing out and going to the side. Now we breathe in and open the rib cage. So breathe in and out. And again in, and out back into the middle. And breathe in, and out we're going. Now to the other side. And breathe in and open the rib cage. And out. And again in, and out back into the middle. So there are different types of tissues, and they are, for example, three told us here: loose connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, and dense irregular connective tissue. Dense irregular connective tissue and dense regular connective tissue both have something called fibers. So this dense irregular tissue is just the name for something, and it has to be made up out of something. It has to have a substance. And so this dense irregular and also the dense regular both consists out of fibers, or they have something called fibers. And in dense connective tissue, the fibers are arranged in parallel bundles, and in dense irregular connective tissue, the fibers are not arranged in parallel bundles. So in regular, there is fibers, and these fibers are arranged in parallel bundles, so they are parallel. And in irregular, they are not parallel. It's not described what they are then, but it's to assume that they are not parallel. So they are mixed up. So in regular, they seem to be all ordered parallel, and in irregular, they seem to be mixed up, or whatever. It's not really explained. And the next exercise, we're having the legs standing again a bit more shoulder wide apart, and we're breathing in. And out in one hand slides down the leg, and the other shoulder stays down. And breathe in, and out, and we're taking the arm over. And breathe in and open the rib cage. So breathe in, and out. And again in, and out back into the middle. And breathe in, and out, and one hand slides down the leg. And the other shoulder stays down. And breathe in. And out, and you're taking the arm over. And breathe in. And out. And get in. And out back into the middle. So there are total as 3 different types of tissue: loose connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, and dense irregular connective tissue. And we also know that dense regular connective tissue, the fibers in them are parallel, and in dense irregular connective tissue, they are not parallel. That leaves the assumption that they are somehow like this. Dense irregular connective tissue has less of something called ground substance than some other type of tissue, loose connective tissue. So with loose connective tissue, we don't know about fibers or something, but it has more ground substance, whatever it is not told us here. So our dense irregular connective tissue has less ground substance. Loose connective tissue has more ground substance. And then the skin has multiple layers, and that we are going to do after the next exercise. So the feet are standing together, we are breathing in and bring our arms up. And we're breathing out, and the hand comes down. One hand comes down. Now we're going to breathe in and reach to both directions. So breathe in and reach. And out. And breathe again in. And out, and one hand comes down. And breathe in and reach. And out. And now we're going to do it for another cycle. So breathe in. And out. One hand comes down. And breathe in and reach. And out. And again in. And out. Hand down. And breathe in and reach. And out. Okay, the skin has multiple layers. At the top, the epidermis, in the middle, the dermis, and at the end, the hypodermis. So the skin is not one thing, but it has 3 layers, and at the top there's the epidermis, then in the middle, the dermis, and then the hypodermis. The middle layer of the skin, the dermis, has itself multiple layers. The papillary dermis on top and the rectangular dermis beneath. So there is epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis, and the dermis itself has 2 layers, the papillary dermis and the rectangular dermis. So these layers are themselves, again, consisting of multiple layers. So the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis, and the dermis has papillary dermis and hypodermis. In the lower, here, the dermis has papillary dermis and rectangular dermis. Papillary and rectangular. In the lower layer, rectangular dermis of the middle layer of the skin dermis is the dense irregular connective tissue mostly present. So, epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, and in the dermis there is the papillary dermis and the rectangular dermis, and in this rectangular dermis there is our dense irregular connective tissue mostly present. And to the next exercise. Now we are having the legs standing wide apart. We are breathing in. And out, and we're diving down. And breathe again in. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out, and we're changing to one leg. And breathe in. And out. And again in. And out, we're changing to the other leg. And breathe in. And out. And again in. And out back into the middle. And we're breathing in. And out, we're coming slowly up and around back and making it the top a backwards shoulder roll. And the last phase. Dense irregular connective tissue has a lot of something called collagenous fibres. These collagenous fibers are making the skin more resistant against ripping, even if the tearing forces are coming from different directions. So dense irregular connective tissue has a lot of collagenous fibers, and they making it resistance against that they rip, even if the force comes from different directions. The next exercise, the garden part, no, one more in the middle. Moving the feet staying together and we're breathing in and out, and we're going down. And breathe again in and out. And again in and out. And in and out. And again in and out. We're coming slowly up and around back and making it top, up backwards, shoulder up. Okay. In regular and irregular are fibers. But in irregular there's less ground substance, and fibroblasts are the most cell type. So fibroblasts are the most common cell type, and they have fibers, but not so much ground substance. And there's also collagenous fibers. Maybe these are the same. So there are fibers in which are irregular or not parallel. There are fibers, there are fibroblasts, and there's collagenous fibers, but not so much ground substance. Maybe some of these terms mean the same. Next exercise. We're having the toes are pointing to the outside and all in space between our heels. We're breathing in and lifting the arms up. And out, and we're going down and we're placing the elbows against the insides of the knees. And now we breathe in and straighten up the back. So breathe in and come taller. And out, and we're going back up. And breathe again in. And out, back into the garden pose. And breathe in. And out, again with the back up. And breathe in. And out, back into the garden pose. Now we're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out again. We're coming up slowly in one straight line. So breathe in. And out, we're coming slowly up in one straight line. And now to the last exercise, the seahorse pose. We have one standing leg, and you place the heel of the mobile leg above the knee of the standing leg, because only if you can do it without injuring your knee. We're breathing in and out, and we're going down. So there are different types of tissues, and there are, for example, loose connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, and dense irregular connective tissue. And regular and irregular both have fibers. In regular they are parallel, and in irregular they are not parallel. And there are a lot of fibers, and the most common cell type are fibroblasts, and they're collagenous fibers or something. In dense irregular connective tissue, these collagenous fibers, we're switching with the leg, are making the dense irregular connective tissue resistance against ripping, even if it comes from different directions. And the skin has three main layers: the dermis, the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. And the dermis has papillary dermis and reticular dermis. And we're coming up, and we are breathing in. And in this reticular dermis, there is our dense irregular connective tissue mostly to encounter. And again in, and out, in, and out, and one more round. So breathe in, and out, and again in, and out, and now close the legs. And we're done with the morning stretching. So there are different types of tissues. There's loose connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, and dense irregular connective tissue. And in both are fibers, and regular and irregular. In regular they are parallel, in irregular they are not. And the skin has epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis, and in the dermis there's papillary dermis and dermis, and in this reticular dermis there is the dense irregular connective tissue mostly to encounter. The most common cell type in dense irregular connective tissue is fibroblasts, and there are fibers in it, and there are collagenous fibers in it, and they make it resistance against ripping. I thank you very much. and I didn't accept.